Hey guys, we have a new product here from Be Quiet. This is Lightbase 600 and they're releasing actually two versions of this case in two different setups in two different colors. So we have Lightbase 600, which is this case. There's a larger version of this, which is 900, and it comes in two variants, LX and DX. The LX version comes with fans pre-installed and the DX version is fanless. And the same goes across the board. They come in two different colors, in white or black. This is a new case from Be Quiet, which is a little bit more funky. It is what you call the typical glass side paneled case, which is split into two sections. You got the main compartment for all your components, and then you have the back compartment for the power supply and all the things you want to hide away. What's a little bit more unique about this case is that it can be inverted. Well, it can be set sideways or horizontally in comparison to how it is right now, which is in vertical orientation. On top of all of that, this case can also be flipped upside down and inverted. So if you have it on your left side of the desk or the right side of the desk, you can still maintain using it. Do bear in mind that your graphics card is going to be upside down. And by the way, this case is not of the cheaper kind. These are ranging from 150 to 200 euros. So it's definitely pricier than your average case, but it does have some features up its sleeve. Let's open it up. So the side panels just have nice little screws, and it also comes with a mesh inside. It has a bit of a mechanical adjustment here. So you see, you can click it back in. So they have done some work, and it's a full size. Rather than just having a small amount, you actually have a full size mesh across the whole side panel. We've got the same kind of screw on top. Undo that and it just comes off. And again, we have a mesh in here. This mesh is glued in, so you actually cannot remove it. So you'd have to clean it with the mesh still inside. It looks nice, it's quite thick, and definitely plenty of space for air to come through. For the front glass to come off, you actually need to undo a few screws on the side here. There you go. Just two screws and the front glass is off. This opens up very nicely. You have access for all the components inside. Let's keep going. Let's take the rest of it off. So we have one more screw below. With the final screw, we're able to remove the base or part of the base. And this is where you see the feet. These feet essentially just twist in and come out. And they actually do have a specific location. You can't just reposition them anywhere. So if you look inside over here, there's a little groove area where the feet go. You can slide it in and secure it in place. And they kind of sit there snugly. But you can't put them in any other location, which is a bit of a shame. I wish they had ability to put them anywhere you want. But it goes on at least on both sides. So we have the base of the feet with a bit of rubber here, so to give you a bit more kind of hold. And that's the little connector. And they're just plastic feet with a nice bit of height, because if you do have it in this orientation, you might want to have the whole case lifted a bit, because these fans need to get air from somewhere. So if it's lifted by the height of those feet, it will provide better air circulation, which is something we're going to test a bit later on. We will actually do a test with our standard test bench and set it up in different orientations and see if there's much of the cooling loss or anything else, and also what are the noise levels. I feel that in a horizontal orientation, it will probably be performing slightly worse than in vertical, but we will see. Let's go through the other things that you get with this case. So first of all, this case comes with 4 pre-installed fans. We've got 3 fans over here, and these are the Lightwings LX in white. These 3 are reversed. So they actually set up in such a way that they pull air this way. So they pull air from the outside and they're going into the case. And this is a standard LX fan, which is just set at the back to exhaust the hot air. These are 420mm fans and they're ARGB. This case comes with ARGB included, and it even has an ARGB and fan controller. Obviously the bottom also has the filters as part of that base. And in this particular case, you can actually install up to 2 320mm radiators. You might have some clearance issues if you install both at the same time with a big motherboard and a big graphics card, so do bear that in mind. As far as limitations are concerned, this case can support an air cooler of up to 170mm in height and a graphics card of up to 400mm in length. At the same time, for the power supply, you can have a pretty long power supply with 180mm of length. So it's capable. It's not the biggest of cases, but it's definitely capable to provide some flexibility for users, especially if you go with a full water cooling build. I think you could do something really, really cool in here. Let's twist this around and see what else we can do. So on the back, we have this cover, which has these retention clips. So you can actually open up and hide it in there. And when you open up, you've got the cables in here. You can also install 2 SSDs in this location. The SSDs would need to be mounted on the inside. So what you do, you have these little clips that you install here, and then you can screw into them the SSD itself. So you place the SSDs here, and then you can put it inside. If you really wanted to, you can remove this back cover altogether. That's not a problem at all. And just kind of open up the whole area. Obviously, you wouldn't want to put it like this. A, it doesn't fit. B, you'd be obstructing the fans. For the cutouts, if you can see here, actually, there's a lot of cutouts. And there's a reason for that. This case supports inverted motherboards. So you can actually have a back to front motherboards, or whatever you call them now, where the connections are going backwards. You could deal with all the cabling at the back, and basically the front would just be clean, besides the cable powering the motherboard at the moment. This is where all the cables are, and I do want to point out that every single cable so far, besides the cable ties, is in white. So you almost can't see them. At the top here, we have the ARGB controller. Also, the PCB is in white. So attention to detail here is actually really nice. And you have a bunch of extra ports. So overall, you have a 6-port unit. We've already got some ports populated, and you can still daisy chain more fans. So you could theoretically have all of your fans connected to this controller and power them, because it also has a SATA power here to provide auxiliary power for all the fans, because if you install maximum amount of fans in here, that's a lot of fans. The total amount of fans we can install, we already have 4 included. You can install 3 more at the bottom and 3 more at the top, which brings the total to 10 fans. That's a lot for a case of this size. Same goes for the radiators. We can install up to 360mm radiator at the top and 360mm at the bottom. As far as the side is concerned, you can install up to 240mm radiator and 120 at the back. I wouldn't do that at all. I think in a case like this, if you really want to go all out, I would install 2 360s and leave it at that. Or maybe even go 1 360 probably at the top and a 240 on the side. And just provide air circulation for the rest of the locations if you really want to overdo it. For the storage capacity, I've already mentioned the SSD locations. There is also a little unit at the back here. So right now, the default position for the power supply is over here. So in this particular case, you can't swap that, so the power supply would have to go here. And then what you do, you have this little drive cage at the bottom, where you would need to purchase the sleds separately, and you can install additional drives. At the back here, we have a hinge for a drive cage, and you need to undo 3 screws. You can take this out, and what you find below there is an additional fan controller. So in this case, altogether, you can install up to 12 fan points, as well as 12 RGB points. Even though this case supports only 10 fans, which is a huge amount of fans, you actually have 12 fan headers and 12 ARGB headers. To be honest, the ARGB headers you could be using for other devices as well. So you could have light strips, and I believe there's some already included with this case. As far as the hard drives are concerned, the existing positions allow you to install a single 3.5-inch drive and 2.5-inch SSDs. So if you wanted to install more, you would actually have to buy an additional bracket. Aesthetically, just looking across all the sides, there's clearly been a lot of attention given to make it look nice and, well, in this case, basically all white with a few small exceptions like just screws, but they don't really stick out or be distracting in any way. Be Quiet's also gone out of their way to put their name in such a way that if you have it in a horizontal fashion, it still looks pretty cool. So I definitely look forward to building it. Before we get to the build, we'll just cover the front I/O. So on the front we have one Type-C, we've got two USB 3.2 Type-A ports. I really like that they're split, so if you have a big USB dongle, they're not interfering with each other. You got a big power button and a reset button up top here, I believe. And then we also have an ARGB button to control RGB. And what you can do with this particular system, just like with most, if you want to sync your RGB to your motherboard, all you need to do is plug it in and then hold down for 3 or 5 seconds, and it will sync to take control from the motherboard side. So the motherboard will then control all the lights in all the fans. So we'll check that out a bit later on when we do the build. Next, what I'll do is I'll set this up in our standard test bench and see its performance. Building in the Be Quiet Lightbase 600 was a pretty smooth experience overall. Once you remove all the covers, we were greeted with plenty of open space to work in, making the whole process feel less cramped compared to many other cases. There is ample space above the motherboard for routing the cables, along with enough room to install a radiator and fans without running into clearance issues. Also, the included signs for the motherboard sizes and middle standoff that holds the motherboard in place were thoughtful touches that made assembly easier. One standout feature is the front header connector, a single unified header that replaces the need for separate individual cables. This design significantly speeds up the installation while maintaining a clean and organized look. Additionally, the generous space at the bottom of the case ensures hassle-free cable management, making it easy to connect even the most cumbersome components. The white cables that I mentioned in the unboxing, they're definitely a nice touch, especially for anyone looking to build an all-white aesthetic. They make the build look clean and give it that polished, cohesive feel. Even with the large air cooler installed, there's still plenty of space to work with, which speaks to the case's thoughtful design. During the build, the back cover was a lifesaver for cable management, even if you're not the most organized builder. It hides everything very nicely. And let's not forget about the RGB lighting. The fans, the side lighting and the underglow are bright, vivid and really make the case pop. Switching to the horizontal build was another highlight. Just undo the feet, remove the end caps and reposition everything. The whole process takes about a minute. In the horizontal mode, the RGB lighting looks fantastic with the case lines, though I wish the top had a glass panel option for an even better look. The case also seems like it would be ideal for custom water cooling build, given the flexibility and the space it offers. That said, there are a few drawbacks. The back frame felt a little flimsy, especially when installing the I/O plates. For cable management, while there are tie-down points everywhere and twist ties included, I would have preferred having Velcro straps for easier rerouting. Also, the stock cable routing assumes the fan and ARGB headers are located at the top of the motherboard. If there aren't, you'll need to undo the ties and reroute the cables, which can be a bit messy. It's not a deal breaker, but definitely something to keep in mind. In horizontal mode, the PSU cables for the GPU and motherboard are very visible, which breaks their overall clean look. A motherboard with rear connectors would prevent this issue. Luckily, this case supports that. Additionally, the case takes up significantly more desk space or floor space in horizontal orientation, although it's now low enough to fit within the shelf. Depending on which side you place the case will actually affect the acoustics. If you have the case away from you and sit towards the side, it is actually about 5 dBA louder than if you flip it around. While it is still pretty quiet, it does make a difference. Lastly, the feet. While these are easy to install and remove, they are actually not fixed in place as such. So if you move the case around or slide it after setting it up, they can actually get untwisted and move. And there's a chance they'll just fall off, so be careful there. I think it's time to get into some benchmarking results, starting with a noise normalized test. Here we found that in this case, in its default configuration, it's actually kind of warm. In fact, in our test, it's slightly hotter than King 95 from Montech, which is a much cheaper case. When we turn up the fans to 100%, the story does not really change, it's mostly the same. We're lagging behind over the other setups, and I believe it's because the case has fans that are actually really quiet. Even at full speed, they're only hitting about 45 dBA, which is one of the quietest in our lineup, and it's with the microphone pointing directly at the fans. If we flip the case the other way around, or in its horizontal position, even at 100% speed, the noise levels are around 40 dBA. Which leads us to the conclusion.
I have a rather mixed opinion of this case. I really appreciate the ease of installation and the stylish design, particularly in the horizontal setup. On the flip side, it's a pricey option that doesn't necessarily deliver the best performance with the included fans. If you're drawn to this case, then I'd probably recommend going with the fanless version and investing in some high-end fans to ensure optimal airflow. That way you can get the best of both worlds. What are your thoughts on this? Is this a solid take on a fish tank style, or would you stick with something more conventional? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you think this case might be all you need, check out the link below for more details. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.